So let us just center our minds and our hearts in this consciousness. And one of the things I want to pray for today and invite you to keep in your prayers this week is all the people whose homes are topsy-turvy or completely missing, not only in our country but all over the globe because of some of the natural disasters. So this is a Thanksgiving for them that is going to be a bit challenging. So Spirit, we give thanks for our spiritual home and this community and the joy and the enthusiasm, and especially the prayer people who really work at prayer and help us on our ASAP, Always Say a Prayer team. Every time we get a call for prayer, those people are there praying as they see it hit their device, either their computer or their telephone. And we pray at this time, this month of November, we pray for release and elimination of all the lower thoughts and vibrations that no longer serve us. And we give thanks for healing. We give thanks for a greater understanding, a greater ability to listen deeply to one another, and to be the transformational agents on the planet. For the teachings of Jesus the Christ, we say thank you, God. Amen. You're teaching us.
All right, I'm going to teach you a song, okay?
Yeah, we're ready.
All right, now this is what you do. When I say we come together, you say we come together. That's it. And it's going to go like, I say, we come together.
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 In the name of love. That's it. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Y'all not ready. Yeah, you're ready. Okay, this is what I want you to do. Take a look at the person next to you. Say I recognize the God. Yes, feel the love and the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. Here we go. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. That's all I need to do. How that feel to you? Okay, now let's try this. Take a look at your person next to you. Say I love you and I love you too. Feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. Oh, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, every walk of life, every creed and color, in the future we unite. In honor of a mighty God, who was the person next to me. Say, I'm the same, I bow to you. Feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together.
transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. And our mission? In loving community, we nurture and inspire spiritual growth by modeling and teaching universal spiritual principles. And our values? Welcoming, diverse, prayerful, transformational, abundant, joyful, empowering. And our statement of being? God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am an individualized expression of God. I am ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. You did not get this yet. I think we are.
Just before you say something you can't take away, take a breath and let it out. Try to think about what would love do now. Wondering if you should cross that line for good. Whatever you decide, ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? Everything is either an act of love or a cry for love. That's why for love we try for love. In the end, that's all we know that's real. Whether right or wrong, doesn't matter just as long as you let your heart decide. Ask yourself from inside, what will love do now? Everything is either an act of love or a cry for love. That's why for love we die for love. In the end, that's all we know that's real. Whether right or wrong, doesn't matter just as long as you let your heart decide. Ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? What would love do now? I want to ask you to sing it with me, y'all. Say, what would love do now? Say it a little louder. What would love do now? Before you cross that line for good, say. Before you beat up on yourself, sing it one time. Before you say something you can't take away, before you cross that line for good, say. Say it one more time for me, y'all. What would love do now?
Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center. My name is Juanita Loomis, and it's my pleasure to serve you as platform assistant today. Thank you for joining us. Unity Spiritual Center is our home where we know, we love, and we serve God through our prayer, our meditation, our Sunday celebrations, our classes, and our community. That's a lot of stuff, isn't it? Good for us. Okay, we appreciate the talents of our music team. And was he ever good? Yes, indeed. Now please stand and join us in singing our joy song. The words are on the screen.
Am I strong enough to bear the burdens that sometimes come living this thing called life? Am I wise enough to make the right decisions when I'm standing at the fork in the road? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Will I have enough to do the things I need to do to take care of myself? Will I have the health of mind and body to live a life of grace and wholeness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Keep on singing, y'all. I am the place where God moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Now I want you to sing it like you mean it and you know it. I am the place where God moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Now look at the person next to you and say, you are the place. You are the place where God
And are you energetic now? You must be feeling it, yeah. I'm told that you don't hear this very well. Are you hearing it now? Yeah. Okay. If this is your first time with us, welcome to Unity. We're glad you're here, and we appreciate your wearing a name. I guess we all do. I did today. So we'll know who you are. We'll remember your name. At least if you don't remember, it's on the name tag. If you would like a guest packet, okay. It looks like this. If you have it, great. If you don't have it, just please stop at our Welcome Center. It's right outside the sanctuary. And our Welcome Center will be happy to answer your questions and give all the information that they know about Unity, if you so desire. And now you are never alone on the road of life, and you are not alone here. There will be more time to greet each other after the service and enjoy refreshments with us in the community room, through out of the sanctuary, across to as far as you can go. It is time for our community greeting, and that means vitamin H. We're a hugging community. You can't get around this. But if you prefer a hug, great. But if you prefer not to have a hug, just stick out your hand and we'll gladly shake it for you. And after just a couple of minutes, you'll hear music, or you'll hear this bell down here. And that is the indication that it's time to be seated. So go to it. You didn't do too badly there. Okay, and now my time is just about over, but it's time for a joke. Is that okay? Okay. There was a sweet grandmother. She telephoned the St. Joseph's Church Hospital, not the church, the hospital. She timidly asked, "Is it possible to speak to someone who can tell me how a patient is doing?" The operator said, "I'll be glad to help you, dear. What's the name and the room number?" And the grandmother, in her weak, tremulous voice, said, "Noreen, room 302. The operator replied, "Just hold on for a while I check with her nurse." And after a few minutes, the operator returned to the phone and said, "Oh, I have good news. The nurse just told me that Noreen is doing very well. And her blood pressure is fine. Her blood work just came back as normal. And her physician, Dr. Cohen, is scheduled to discharge her on Tuesday." The grandmother said, "Thank you, that's wonderful. I was so worried. God bless you for the good news." And the operator replied, "You're more than welcome. Is Noreen your daughter?" And the grandmother said, "No, I'm Noreen in 302. No one tells me anything." Thank you. And now, Ellen Cronus will give us a decoration update, and then the prayer chaplain will read the daily word, spiritual power of the month, and will bless the prayer box.
Good morning, all you beautiful people. By a show of hands, how many of you brought a whole bunch of Christmas decorations with you from up north, and maybe even added more? Yeah, me too. So we have a lot for our church, and we have a lot of things that we need to do to prepare this for Christmas. So it looks beautiful and it looks wonderful. My name is Ellen Cronus, and I love Christmas. I'm on the decorating team with Mary Ellen Taylor, and we're asking for your help. First, we need to unpack the things that are in the storage shed, and we're going to be doing that on Wednesday, right before Turkey Day at 12:30, and then you can go home and put your turkey in the oven or whatever you need to do. Then we will need help the Sunday after Sunday, actually it's next week after Sheridich. We're going to be putting up the Christmas trees and decorating the sanctuary. We'll probably take care of the community room, or if there's lots of things, we'd love to have you help that. And then when Christmas is over, on New Year's, the Sunday after New Year's, we're going to need some help to take it down and pack it back up. We're doing our very best to make this place beautiful so that you can enjoy it. And we want you to walk into the sanctuary and say, oh, beautiful, feels like home. So we have a sign-up sheet. Mary Ellen is going to start it. And if you are willing to sign up for either of those, any of those positions, just put your name down, the best way to contact you, and we'll be getting in touch and hope to see you. Thank you.
My name is Rhonda Hall, and I'm happy to serve as your prayer chaplain today. Can everybody hear me all right? Okay, would all the chaplains in service today please rise? Thank you. If you would like a prayer with a prayer chaplain, these chaplains will be in the sanctuary after the service. If you prefer more privacy, we have prayer rooms on each side of the sanctuary. We are honored to be of service. Thank you, chaplains. The Daily Word is published by Unity, and you can buy it in our bookstore, which is through those doors and on the other side in the community room on the left. And today's word is grace, and it's based upon the scripture from Romans chapter 6, verse 14, which really spoke to me today. I want to tell you a quick thing. I switched weeks with Denny, and I got this week, and this was the week that was meant for me. The verse is, "For sin will have no dominion over you, since you are not under law, but under grace. In grace, I release every sense of limitation," which also goes along with our power of the month. The spiritual idea of grace is often considered in terms of related words, which as gracious and graceful. They suggest a sense of grace as a quiet state of consciousness that helps to create an easy, peaceful life experience. Grace can be all of that, but it's so much more. Grace is the power I lovingly convey whenever I recognize and express my Christ presence. The Bible reminds me that Stephen, one of the earliest converts, being full of grace and power, did wonders and signs among the people. In expressing the quality of grace, I find the clarity, peace, and power to accomplish the spiritual work that is mine to create. If you'll say the words with me on the screen. In grace I release every sense of limitation. The spiritual power of the month for November is elimination. The corresponding color is russet. The center of elimination is located in the abdominal region. Elimination is the ability to release, remove, denounce, deny, and let go. Elimination is represented by Bathsheba and the disciple Judas Thaddeus, the son of James. Please join me in saying the affirmation, I eliminate the cross in order to open my mind to new possibilities. Bless the prayer box. Infinite Creator, the people represented by their names in this prayer box are facing challenges. We know that they are protected by your loving wisdom. We send them healing love and light, and now they will meet their challenges through your divine powers with which they were created. We thank you for all our spiritual gifts, and so it is. Amen.
Hello, my name is Joanna. I come here totally unprepared but motivated by Spirit to say thank you during this week of gratitude. A year ago, I could not have stood up here. For a year ago, I didn't even really know you existed until one day GPS set me the wrong way 3 times. And I thought, maybe I should listen to GPS because 3 is my lucky number. And I feel so grateful that I listened to myself and that I opened myself up to Spirit and to the love in this room. I couldn't have been here, standing here a year ago, because 2 weeks after we moved here in September, I suffered the greatest tragedy of my life when I lost my son. But this community, love, grace, the joy song, it all speaks to me today. And I just wanted to share with you my love, my thankfulness, and I hope that each of you have a blessed and wonderful Thanksgiving.
I lost my sweetheart. 44.
Every morning, the light keeps getting brighter as I wake up to the truth. And every day, I'm feeling so much lighter, and the world seems fresh and new. Well, I was taught in the way that I thought stopped serving me long ago. Now I'm learning to trust in the God of all of us. Each day I start anew, and so I'm walking away from the thinking that held me for so long. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the path that led me to confusion. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the thinking that held me for so long. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the path that led me to such sadness. Today is the day I walk away. Every day I walk away. Every morning brings a new beginning, by the grace another day to be. And I awaken to the sun upon me shining, lighting the way for me to see. Oh, things that I sought and the way that I thought God of all of us. Of yesterday I'm letting go. I'm walking away from the thinking that held me for so long. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the path that led me to confusion. Today is the day I walk away. Oh, I'm walking away from the less than that held me for so long. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the path that led me to such sadness. Today is the day. Today is the day. Today is the day I walk away.
Thank you, Eddie, for those heartfelt songs. And today we have a Christmas concert after we have some snacks, so hopefully people will stay for that. If you have today, if you have in any way helped out in this ministry this past week, would you please stand so we could recognize you? Come on, that includes the bookstore manager that's always here doing stuff, and everybody that's here doing stuff all the time. Bless you, thank you. And thank you everybody for participating in our Outreach Sunday with food and clothing and donations. They go to the local food bank, and then Haven is a safe home, so we appreciate that. For all of us who feel the deep love and affection for our computers at all times. Bill Gates was at the expo, and he was comparing the computer industry with the auto industry. And he's quoted as saying, if Ford had kept up with the technology like the computer industry has, we would all be driving $25 cars that got 1,000 miles to the gallon. As you can imagine, this irked a few of the Ford engineers. So they came back and said, as long as you don't mind a car crashing once a month for no reason, as long as you don't mind occasionally executing a maneuver such as a left turn that would cause your car to shut down, refuse to restart, in which case you would have to reinstall the engine. Apple would make a car that was powered by the sun, was reliable, 5 times as fast and twice as easy to drive, but would only run on 5% of the roads. The airbag system, before it deployed, would ask, are you sure? And occasionally, for no reason whatsoever, your car would lock you out, refuse to let you in until you simultaneously lifted the door handle, turned the key, and grabbed hold of the radio antenna. And then the last one is, every time a new car was introduced, car buyers would have to learn how to drive all over again because none of the controls would operate in the same manner as the other. I can just see a bunch of them. Oh, I forgot my, Tim, I forgot my clicker, so you'll have to click with me, but we only have 4 slides today. Let's see, so appreciation works, and what are we really thankful for? You know, Thanksgiving is, when we think about it, it's, what are we giving thanks for giving? Who has given to us? That's really what we're giving thanks to. Maybe somebody who has really helped us in the past, or been a good friend, or maybe, I'll put in quotation marks, some of your family members you're very grateful for. Maybe you're very grateful for all of them. Some of you are smiling, so maybe some of them. Maybe something that happened in your life that was totally transformative. Maybe some event. Maybe one time you went to a place and had a transformational experience. So thanks for giving is what it's truly all about. It's really this week we really bring into our consciousness all the things that we're really thankful for. And as we are still in the month of release and elimination, many of you have talked about your process and your progress this month in working with the freedom of releasing old ways and letting ourselves off the hook. Thanks for everybody doing that work and letting ourselves be off the hook. Thanks for giving that to your community and to the world. We are fulfilling our vision and Unity Ministries worldwide vision when we are waking up just a bit every day, a little bit more. So I really appreciate everybody who engaged in our book study, Living Originally. It was a short few weeks, but it made us aware of the tools, and then we'll have time to practice them once a month, which is what's recommended. So I bless all of us, all of you, for doing the work. Only those who have forgiven self can forgive others. You know, we're energy beings encased in this physical body, and sometimes it might be difficult for everything that shows up for us to really appreciate it all. And as true students, I know that we want to squeeze every morsel of learning from it, mostly so we don't have to repeat it, shall we say. You know, how many share that belief that whenever something happens in your life, you really want to look at it and see what you can gain, what you can garner, what you can learn from it? Yeah, that's what's on the path. So somebody asked me this week, you know, this chemicalization thing, when does it end? And I said, well, hopefully never, because chemicalization is that thing, the picture that we get when we think about pouring vinegar in milk, where it just immediately sours it. Chemicalization is when opposing forces come together and cause disruption in us. And chemicalization always happens when we're looking at our old beliefs that we want to get rid of, and something new is coming down that maybe we're not quite ready to leap into that. I remember I had a New Zealander friend who died a week before she was 102, and I remember so many times, it seemed like every few months, she would say, you know, I've been thinking about that, and I've had a different thought about that, and a different belief. And I thought, that is just far out, to be 100 and 101, still learning and growing and knowing that if you're on the planet, that's what we're supposed to do. So, how do we give thanks for absolutely everything that appears on our path? As New Thought teachers teach, they tell us to stay focused on our creative process. And one of the things that Abraham Hicks teaches, I know a lot of you listen to Abraham Hicks, is that we start out in bed in the morning and hold our feelings of appreciation for 17 seconds at a time, and then build on that for 17 seconds more, and 17 seconds more, and 17 seconds more, and until we just we build a force field around us. And what happens then is, it's not that things come into our path that are not difficult, it's just that our force field is stronger, so they have less effect on us. And in Unity, the Unity teachings are to use time in the silence, to use prayer and meditation, to enhance and increase that force field. And we know by keeping our thoughts on what we want to create, whether it's peace of mind or happiness or a new item or a new habit, we know that as we focus our minds on what we want, we attain it, because that is how we manifest. So we're in training our minds and ourselves to just stay focused on really what we do want. So traditional holiday memories, some people may relate to this, and maybe that we had to set the intention with family gatherings that we would just accept however it unfolded. Anybody have somebody in their family that maybe really controlled the menu or was very loud or drank a little too much and told the same old stories, and we just had to go in with that attitude of accepting all. I'm getting some nice smiles out there. I mean, we just go in with the attitude that whatever happens, we accept what it is. So we know that the golden rule is to do unto others as we would do unto one another. And it's in every language, and it's a version of it is in every religion. And you know, at times, it may be difficult to practice that. I wonder how come that is. Well, let's look at how complicated we are. Can we have that first slide with the Enneagram? So the Enneagram how many people are familiar with that Enneagram? Yeah. And if you want to look it up on the web, you just notice the spelling, Enneagram. And there's free tests on the web, and there's lots of detail. But basically, it's just one of those things that help people understand how different everybody is and how they're oriented differently in the world. There's positive aspects and there's negative aspects to each one of those. And then the lines that connect are there to remind us that those people have similar ways of looking at the world. But for instance, when you look at some of those up there, you might see the helper, the caring person is also the people pleaser. And that would be hard for some of the other personality types to get along with, like maybe the challenger or the investigator, because the people pleaser probably will never really tell you honestly how they feel because they want to please you. So we have this Enneagram, and we have all these types in this sanctuary, don't we? Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And then along with that, we have everybody that's on a different spiritual path, which was designed by Spirit. That is our individual curriculum. So if we could imagine all these lines with another slide over it with all the other lines of all the different paths, we would see how complex we are as a group. And that here we are trying to understand and understand how one another perceives the world. Could be a bit of a challenge. So I have been saying for a few years now that we are in this transitional stage of ministry. And many of you, when we have our coaches come in, when we have board training, we always get together with the other two churches, Unity of Citrus and Unity of Ocala, and we have a Friday night thing, and the coaches try to teach us where we are and what's happening. And so one of the things that's happening is we're in this, what we call this transitional stage of ministry. So I thought I'd just take a minute or two to go through that. So the next slide shows us that there's kind of three different areas in particular where we shift from our old way of being to a new way of being. We shift from that beginning ministry of 50, 60, 70 people, and now we are more than that. We're 150, 160. And so you see that the intimacy spectrum changes. Now it's no longer all the needs primarily met with the minister, which you may imagine is impossible with all of the different types of the Enneagrams, but now they're primarily met in community, and the intimacy needs are met by small group ministries, and this is why we have small group book studies, and John Booth runs the men's club, and this is out of the Unity Board Training Manual. So one of the things you see up there is that there's trouble at the border, that whenever we go from one phase of any kind of existence into another phase of existence, there seems to be a little bit of trouble at the border. So this is one place where we're challenged. The next place is that the organization changes. So the organization now is more complex. So we used to have simple structures when there was just 50, 60 people and we were in a smaller place. And now we have more complex structures. Has anyone ever been a part of a growing company? And you remember the challenges there, or one company that merged into another one? I remember I merged one company into a parent company, and really people went through the dying process. And I was thinking maybe we missed the ritual of going through the dying process from being a pastoral family community into a more of a, where we're in the middle now, in that transitional stage. So we see here that there's more complex structures. And so we have more paid help now. We have people, God bless them, that do a great job on our outside grounds. We have an inside fix-it service. We have a cleaning service. We have a wonderful church business administrator who promises she's going to come to church one Sunday, and I think she actually is soon. And then the last one is, this next one is another place where the leadership is different now because the leaders have to do things differently. So the board has approved policies this year. We've always had bylaws in place. We have a volunteer coordinator now. We've had volunteer trainings over the last 2 years. We've had strategic planning sessions every few years. We had one this year. We're refining those conscious intentions. So you see it's more complex. And then just the very last slide. So one of the things that I want you to see on this is it's a difficult size to energize cohesively without a major crisis. And this is across all denominations. This is just not unity. This is the reason why a lot of churches split, because there are all these kind of differences now that when you go from one size to another, it takes understanding and it takes people wanting to cross that border. And one of the insights of this is, of course, when churches split, what happens? They get down to their smaller size, where they're comfortable. So we all have to kind of have an understanding on this as we go forward. And our leadership is doing a fabulous job, and it's a challenging undertaking, that's for sure. So I'm asking for a smoother transition through this. Prayer, as I reviewed last week, is what enabled us to manifest this church. We prayed. We pulled it in every night on the phone. And we're going to start that again. We're going to start praying for our church body now, and we're going to start Thanksgiving Eve. And if you haven't got a blue sheet of paper, the ushers will make sure you have one. And it only takes 5 minutes of your time. All you do is dial the number in. We have volunteers that lead in prayer. And then we just pray for harmony in the church. We spend a couple minutes in the quiet. And so it is. And I've asked Steve Camp to write a lovely prayer, and he has, and we'll say that today. So let's see. So additionally, starting the first Sunday in December, we're going to invite and ask and pray that people will participate in some group discussions after service, like around 11:40, on how we can better work together. And Reverend Anne Marie is back with us now. She is a coach, and she's going to facilitate these programs. So we're asking everybody to, who is interested, who cares about the church. I feel we have enough people that are holding the high consciousness and are involved in consciousness that we can bring the consciousness up and learn how we can work together. Okay. And then one more slide. Now this is, if you remember, we spent some time on this a couple years ago, David Hawkins' map of consciousness. And I don't know what the recent evaluation is. I know when he came out with this, he said the global consciousness was about 207, which puts us just past that middle. But what's important with that is we see empowerment there. And we see affirming, and then just right above that I feel is where we need to be with the congregation. We need to release some of the old stuff, and we need to trust our leadership. And I think if you doubt your leadership, get on a leadership team. We can always use more help. And that may give you a different perspective with that. So, we can whine and gripe and complain. I know I can. I went running yesterday, not running, jogging. It cannot be called running. At the Santos Trailhead, and I parked my car, and there were a couple other cars there, but there was this huge mobile home. I mean, it was like 35 deep. And they were running the engine, and that's just one of my gripes, because I like taking care of the environment, and I just don't like when people are just running their engine. They're parked and they're running their engine. So I go running on the trail, and I come back in about 30 minutes, and the engine is running. So my mind, what's the story I make? Well, the story I make is they just ran a whole bunch of fuel. They just polluted the environment for half an hour for no reason. That's ridiculous. Do I even know that? The slice I got was I parked. The engine was running. I came back a half hour later. Did they just turn the car on? I don't know. Maybe. Okay. So then I go around the corner, and there's 2 kids there, and a father, and a dog, and the little boy, he's about 4. He wants to show me the dog, so I go up and say hi to the dog. I meet the little girl. She's 4. She's a doll. She's got glasses. She's got a couple missing teeth. She's in a wheelchair. And I'm thinking, oh, gosh, to have a little kid in a wheelchair. So then the story I make is, well, maybe his wife just said, honey, take the kids outside for 20 minutes. Keep the engine on. Just leave me be in here. You see, we don't know. We don't know. We just don't know the slice that we see, and then we make up a story. And so I know I've heard stories, and I've heard pieces of information, and I think with these discussions, we will be able to kind of get more of a complete picture and a complete understanding with one another. And I know our brains have a challenging time turning a negative thought to a positive one, but it's the positive thoughts that make us happy. And I can tell you as a hospice chaplain that people die as they live, so we want to be happy. So the other thing is our ushers are going to, if you haven't received a heart on the way in, we want to invite you to put a heart on your badge, and if you're willing to reactivate the love in our congregation. And then the last thing I want to do for a couple minutes is, I have this turkey here, and I'm going to throw it out, and it can't hurt you. So if you get it, I'd like you to say one thing you're grateful for about this spiritual community, and then I'd like you to toss it to somebody else. Okay. And anything that you're appreciative of this spiritual community.
I'm not too good talking to people, big crowds. Scares me, I shake. But outside working, it's a different story. But in the church, I'm kind of quiet. Just try to stay awake.
I did notice you weren't listening.
I got in the shower with my hearing aids on, so it's really bad right now. It'll take me a month to dry them out. I really love the church. Bless you. And this place makes both of us feel at home. And we had a big church in Georgia, but nothing like this. It's really nice.
Now you can toss the turkey to somebody else.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Toss it to somebody else.
I am just so grateful for all of the love that I feel in this community, and I'm grateful to be a part of the chaplain team, to be able to pray with people, and to be able to have my grandchildren.
We miss you when you're gone. You're up in New Hampshire.
And when
I said, we miss you when you're gone. You're up in New Hampshire.
I
is everybody here? Although I feel that support, but it's good to be here. So you can toss the turkey. Grateful.
One thing I really appreciate about this church is that the openness that you welcome me in and let me do my crystal bowl sessions here twice a month, and I get so much out of them. I love to come and do that and try to help everyone who's trying to get down into their very essence and recognize their spirit and know the truth of who they really are. Thank you.
All right, let's have one or two more. You want to toss the turkey?
Well, I'm grateful for the church. I'm especially grateful for the men's group that I'm part of and all of the good communication that goes on with that. I'm very happy for Marge being our minister. And I'm very proud of the fact that the board of directors seem to be on the right path and making good decisions. I'm grateful for everything.
Okay. Want to toss it one more time?
I am grateful for the feeling of safety that I have here when I come. And I don't know everybody, it doesn't mean that I do, but I see familiar faces and everybody's friendly. And so I feel good about that. I feel good about this. I just feel safe. And I think that that's a really good way to feel.
Nice. Very good. All right. I think before we go into meditation, before our meditation song, I'd like to recognize if there's anybody new here today, we'd like you to raise your hand and we can give you a blessing. Here we go. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we hold Christ in you. Okay. Show me the presence. Surely the presence. reflect on not only all that we are appreciative of, ask Spirit to bring to your mind this week anybody that may need a contact from you. And let us spend some time in quiet. We give thanks. Amen. All right. to say this new prayer written by Steve Camp. We joyfully give thanks for the healing and coming together that has taken place and now unites us in our attention and commitment to fulfill our purpose as a spiritual community. We are grateful for the knowing of this truth, and we say, thank you, Spirit, thank you, God, and so it is. Amen. All right, and it is our time where we get to put in our tithes, our blessings, our offerings, as we supercharge them, send them forth to the universe to really create a more peace-filled world. Let us affirm divine love as we bless and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful. We hear that Christmas music moving in here. All right, if you'll all join consciousness with me up here. We bless the givers of these gifts that realize the importance of spiritual community, the importance of returning more humanitarian values to the world. We see these offerings, these tithes, these blessings going forth, multiplied many times over, and supercharging the world with peace. And for this, we give thanks in the name and through the power of Jesus the Christ. Amen. All right, and if you're new, you want to position yourself. We get 2 circles or something like that, and you want to see the screen if you don't know the peace song.
Yeah.